Hi, I'm Sue.
And I'm Lisa.
We have been teaching for a very long time. Looking back, we realized that we didn't know what we didn't know about being educators. We are simply here to share our stories, and hopefully you'll laugh along with us. The names have been changed to protect the innocent and the guilty. Hey, Lisa.
Hey.
It's our first podcast.
Yay, we finally got to this point.
Yep. I think we better give people some background in why we're doing a podcast.
Okay.
And why it's named what it's named and all that stuff. So we've been together as teachers for over 20 years.
23, Sue.
Okay. And
that's crazy.
Both of us have taught 33 years. But we always seem to be hilarious.
We think we're hilarious.
Okay,
you might not.
We used to sit in the teacher's lounge and have a fake podcast. But back in the day, we called it radio. And we called it, what do you want to about?
Yes.
And we would always talk and have themes.
It was our venting session.
But it was hilarious.
It was hilarious.
To us.
Yes.
And we'd have people come up and be guests.
Totally stress relief.
It was really fun. And we started to accumulate these stories.
Power of laughter.
And I wrote a book. And I've been just writing these chapters for probably 15 years. And I realized that nobody wants to read. Nobody reads. And I would never publish this book.
No.
And I would read the book
But
out
it's
loud.
filled with just fun anecdote things.
Right. And it's not
teaching.
Yes, and it's something that came to me when I hit about 50. And when because I'm 56, let's be clear.
Okay.
And you don't have to say how old you are.
I'm younger. I'm just going to say that.
So much younger.
And let's just, you're retired and
Right.
I'm not.
I am retired. But I love teaching, and I think, pretty good at it. And you were
I
good
love
too.
teaching too. It's the greatest job in the world.
Exactly. So the themes of my book became clear that when I was in my 20s and 30s, I did not have a clue. But not just that I didn't have a clue.
Well, you thought you knew everything, though.
But when I hit about 50, I realized I didn't even know what I didn't know.
You don't know what you don't know.
And
You don't know what you're missing.
But you don't even know what you don't know. How do you know that if you know it, right?
You wouldn't know.
Okay, so the name of my book became I didn't know what I didn't know.
Right. And now our podcast is We Didn't Know What We Didn't Know.
Right.
She tagged me along on this one.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, most of my stories needed to be read out loud because there's some accents, maybe.
Yeah, that's true.
Probably couldn't use them all the time, but that's okay. And the stories are just funnier. And so I was thinking that with our podcast, we'd pick a theme every week, kind of based around something from teaching. And we'll have some special guests.
Love the special guests we have lined up.
We
Yes.
have our
Yes.
first guest is going to be just magnificent. That will be probably about Halloween, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think Halloween would be the best time because it's her favorite holiday.
Yeah, so much so. Anyway, we also...
It's not.
No. Both of my sons are teachers, and they would like to do some dramatic readings of some of these things, even though they're only in their 20s and they don't know what they don't know. So that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And I think we should start...
You know what?
Yeah.
I was thinking of a theme for today,
Okay.
if you don't mind.
No,
Pets in the classroom.
Okay.
Because you know what? Everybody's like, oh, you should get a class pet. And it
Okay,
seems
yeah.
so fun when you'd see other people have them. And in their rooms, you're like, oh, how lovely. They have pets and the kids love them. And there's so much to learn about responsibility and everything. But again, you don't know what you don't know.
Well,
Well, you
and
have
you
them.
know, I have been accused, I don't know about you, by administrators of trying to make kids like me too much. But
You
I'll
bought
tell-
them with pets?
Well, I bought them with all kinds of things. Candy, pet, I didn't care. But, okay, over 30 years in the classroom, I've always had a cage of some sort of cute
yes,
animals.
you have.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I had Madagascan hissing cockroaches.
Oh, that's the worst.
No,
I mean, honestly,
no.
that
No, you would take a little
that
paint.
even
No.
you saying Madagascar makes me phobic.
You
like
would take
I'm having
a paintbrush.
I'm getting hot flashes.
And
right
you would
just thinking.
I'm over hot
I have hot flashes right now thinking about Madagascar.
You would just scrape off the little mites.
Oh,
they have little spiders crawling all over those little suckers. Okay,
there are certain things that should never be in the classroom.
Well, okay, those were cool. And then, then they had babies. We have the librarian at our school to thank, and she'll be on someday. She used to raise those. I had tropical fish, and then we were told that you couldn't use electricity that was private.
You should have just brought in your own little generator, you know.
You weren't allowed to plug
bicycle pedals on a student's desk, and they could just generate electricity for your fish tank. I wonder really how much electricity a little fish tank
you couldn't
actually
have
generates.
lamps. Remember, you couldn't have lamps. You couldn't have fish. Okay. Anyway.
So you've had Madagascar.
Okay.
I had fish too, and you know what? I don't even eat fish. Let alone, I don't know how I'd be talked into
They taste fishy.
I don't know how I'd even be talked into having fish in the classroom, but I have these fish and just the cleaning of it, and the kids were really good about helping. And they love that stuff. But you just blew my mind when you brought in that whole handful of those little snails, and they just kept the whole fish.
Oh, that's true.
And then it wasn't a nuisance.
Right?
But fish weren't. One day I just said I can't do fish anymore, and I said, anybody in the classroom, go home, ask your parents if they want a fish tank with all the fish, and you can have it.
This is $700 worth of equipment. Take it!
Just take it. Do you know I actually won a fish tank from, it was like Walmart or something. They had a little thing. And
was it a teacher thing?
Yeah, and they brought in a fish tank. So, yeah, that was one of them.
I remember.
I gave that one away, too.
The snails all died, and I remember taking out the filter. It was like a thing you'd pull up, and it was just like, it looked like a baby diaper that was used for like 14 hours, and it was green, and not that a baby diaper did well.
Okay,
so not so good. Well, anyway, so then I went on to mice. I want to tell you something about mice. They're intelligent.
They are intelligent.
They're very intelligent.
You had so many mice through the years.
I did. I had a lot of mice. But mice, I was told, my husband is a naturalist, and I was told that mice would be a good choice because if you just got 2 female mice, they wouldn't smell that bad because they don't mark their territory.
Right.
And you could pick them up by the tail and...
But how do you tell if they're really female?
Well, that's another podcast.
That's human growth and development.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do that later. Puberty is on its way sometime. But the whole thing with pets in a cage like that. I remember Bobby had what are those? They go ee. What are those? They're rodents and they're bigger. Guinea pig.
Oh gosh, I'm on it. Oh yeah, guinea pig.
She was super cool because those were like more like a kitten size, and I was like, I'm not going that far.
Was that a senior moment? I mean, like, could you not remember?
I could not remember guinea pig. They're not guinea or pig. I don't.
Okay, you know what I remember about you with mice?
Okay.
So you had all these mice, and one day my daughter who went to school. At the school, and I think she was in 3rd grade or whatever.
Probably.
She came in, and I, I'm not a huge rodent fan anyway. She came in, and she thought it would be funny. I was standing there talking to another teacher. It might have even been you. I don't know.
You know what? We shared a door.
We did share a door. And she came in, and she thought it would be funny to put it on my shoulder.
Hilarious.
Your mouse. And I saw it, I went, oh, and it went right down the back of my shirt.
Well,
and you know, how my pants gapped a little bit, and I could feel it like scurrying to stay out of my butt crack, basically, from going down in my.
Well, it's a nice warm place.
Honestly, I'm. The expletives is that how you say it?
You're not supposed to swear. That's why I have to.
Thank goodness it was before school because I like ripped my shirt off. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
I'm screaming. And thank goodness it was way before school started.
Yeah,
anyway.
and I thought Mackenzie didn't hear you say those words, but she seemed okay. she seemed all right.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's true. I can say ass. I mean, there is a pain in the ass to have pets, but you have to, once you start, you can't just suddenly go,
you can't.
I'm sorry, the pets are gone now.
No, you can't devastate the kids.
No.
Do you remember when, after that moment, I kidnapped your mice?
No, wait.
Don't you remember?
I bet I will.
I kidnapped your mice, and then I had them, and then I sent you little, pictures of like an ear.
Here I am. If you want to see your mice alive, send us $7,000. I do remember that.
Yes, it was fun.
Well, I used to name them after characters in books. So, like, I had Grandpa Joe and Grandpa George. That's from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And but I did move on to hamsters. Did you ever have a hamster?
Well, I had the whole Buffy the Vampire Slayer cast of hamsters. I love that show. I know it was empowering. Anyway, I had a Buffy and a Spike and a Angel and a Willow and then a Monster. Monster. Speaking of human growth and development, Monster taught us a lot about human growth and development. He ended up being a male, and the kids are like, what are these? It's got a tumor. It's got a tumor. There's big growths. And I'm like, what? It just like over the
They did
holiday,
grow weird growth things.
And I'm like,
yeah,
let's go with tumor.
It wasn't a tumor.
No, there were 2 tumors actually.
2.
Yeah.
So that was a male.
Yeah, it was a male.
Well, how about this? So if you have hamsters, they need to be both hopefully female because they don't smell as much.
Well,
Sorry,
I only
boys,
had one. They
stink.
don't last very long though.
True, but I thought they were lonely. I treat pets like humans. That's why I don't have a dog because I'm like, hi, you want to watch TV? I'm really the worst with that. So yeah, so apparently we did not figure out that they were both female, and they had a litter, huge litter, and they could have so many babies. And the kids were freaking out because they said, well, couldn't those children have children? And we had a little toilet paper tube in the cage. And one day, this little kid, his name was Dane, he ran over to the cage and he screamed out in front of all these. He was knowledgeable. And he goes, they're having sex in the tube. And I'm like, God, they're having sex in the tube. And everybody's like, what's that? And I'm like, oh my God, nothing.
Well, that's the difference between, I had more upper elementary, you were lower elementary.
That's true.
We had, when I worked in another state in Arizona, I was teaching special ed at the time, and we actually created our own 4-H club so the kids could learn, how to like show. We had, give them experiences in that, and so we got 2 rabbits, and I remember the one boy one day goes, "They're fighting!" And
Special hugs.
Yeah, special hugs. So we ended up with a whole litter of
neat
rabbits to share at the fair.
And now, did you have a pet named Snowball? Because
it was one of them was named Snowball.
I changed from
the
mice got just too creepy for me. I think it's just they were too thin.
They were small.
It made me upset though. No, I wanted something a little chubby. It just made me feel like a better mother that I was feeding them. So I had Snowball the hamster, and I want to tell you, our custodians were amazing, and they hated us. But I mean, they loved us, but it was a love-hate.
You're the one that got me talked into hamsters.
Of course. But this one time, Snowball got out of the cage, and you're searching the school, Well, we had this like weird basement thing. We didn't really have a basement, but you could go down this like steps, and there was a cistern or something, and there was Snowball. There was only water. Well, she was floating in it, and just FYI, hamsters don't.
That's the hard thing about that. We had I think it was Buffy that escaped in our classroom, and Buffy was very stealthy. And where she ended up, we figured out she had a nest between the cupboards. Well, anyway, we couldn't find her, and then every day I'd come back to school, and like if I left a banana on the desk or something, little chews on it, or I had this little filing cabinet thing, and she would eat all the tops of the tabs.
Oh yeah. Oh, nice.
And the kids are like, "Oh, there's a hole in my shirt or coat I left on my
They
chair."
Can live in weird circumstances.
So it was like forever. It was weeks and weeks, and finally the janitor goes, "I've had enough of this," and he goes, "I bought a live trap." It was really fun though. The kids were making we were trying to make little traps with like toilet paper tubes and to go in a garbage can. We had all these sorts of MacGyver type.
I
traps.
did that, but you should always put something soft on the bottom of the garbage can. Yeah, we caught my hamster.
Anyway, so I was so excited. I'm like, this is gonna work. We'll get Buffy back and stuff. And came back to school one morning. And he goes, "Yeah, that live trap didn't work very well." And
I started in probably 2010 or so. I started to just name all the hamsters Chester because they would die. And sometimes they would die and I would just replace it and they wouldn't even notice, right? Okay, but I want to tell you about 2016, okay? It's the year of the 3 Chesters, okay? So everybody grab a blankie, have some hot cocoa. I'm about to tell you a story, okay? This Chester was 6 years old. Okay, that's like 140 to you and me, okay? In hamster years, that's ancient. But this hamster was still going strong. And his cage, did you send home hamsters with the kids?
I did. Sometimes they didn't come back, but I let them take them home on break.
But I was so stupid. They would drop the cage, and this cage was like, I had an aquarium for a while. It was all cracked and duct taped.
I think I remember the Chester story now.
Oh,
I think I got this
the parents would come and get these hamsters, and then they'd take it home. And Chester went home with a little girl named Gabby, and Chester...
The name was changed, though.
Oh, yeah. It's not Gabby. And Chester was really the hamster's name. I didn't change the hamster's name. He won't mind.
Yeah, well, we haven't changed the names of the pets.
So Chester died on Thanksgiving because that's a long break. And I mean, kids can do a lot of really weird, go through my domino maze, eat this carpet. It's like, okay, it died. I did not care. Okay? He died of old age. I'm sure of it.
I had one get eaten by a dog.
Oh,
that was
my
sad.
God.
That was a monster.
Okay, well, it was nobody's fault. It's just,
No,
it happens,
it
right?
happens.
And that's another cool thing to teach kids about death. And you have these hamster funerals. We write poetry.
But you didn't have to teach them that because you just have another Chester.
Well, sometimes. But this time I'm like, you know what? I'm approaching retirement. That's enough with the Chesters. But what happened? Okay, Gabby's mom went and bought us another Chester. And I'm like, oh, I was like, oh, super. And of course, as a teacher, you're like, oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. We're so happy, right?
Another Chester.
And so I've been stuck in a cycle of rodents for like 20 years.
Oh, at least.
At least, yeah. So anywho, the reason that this mom bought the hamster was it was too traumatizing, air quotes, for her daughter to be the one who didn't bring the hamster back. I'm like, you know what? What's traumatizing?
Air quotes.
Air quotes. Me having another Chester. And then remember, too, you have to train them. You have to
you do.
tame them and train them and all this. Okay, so Chester number 2. So we had Chester number 1. Now we're on to Chester number 2. Came back to my room on a lovely cold Monday in December, after Thanksgiving break. You're like, oh, gee. And then the mother gave me a $20 bill to cover... Yeah, to cover the cost of the cage and all that. It's just crazy, okay? So Merry Christmas. So I'm changing the name. This little boy named Davy wanted to take the hamster over Christmas break. I'm like, okay, that's good. But Davy loved animals. He had emus, llamas. Honestly, he had llamas. He had cage birds, a hamster of his own, a mouse, many dogs and cats. And I thought, well,
I'm amazed at how many pets kids have.
Yeah. So Chester number 2, I'm like, he's gonna die. So Monday after break, Davey walks in holding a new cage, brand new, like everything's new about this, and he set it on the counter. And I was looking to see, and I'm like, I don't see anything in there. And he goes, oh, it's in there. And I'm like, Davey, I don't think there's a hamster there. No, it's there. I'm like, but there's always movement, even under the shavings. Where's Chester? And I said, I don't think there's a hamster in there. And he looked me right in the eye and goes, oh, there's a hamster in there. So I'm like, then the bell rang. I'm like, I forgot. I'm like, okay. So I put it out of my mind. And I thought, after a couple hours, I thought, I'm pretty sure there's no hamster. So during story time, I'd always put the hamster in the rolly ball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they run around the room.
And so
super fun.
It was super fun.
Yeah.
And I always would say, be cool. Don't be screaming about the hamster in the ball. And Gabby, the one who was so proud to have the second Chester, walks over and says, hey, there's no hamster in here. And then there's this tiny little roar starts in the corner. And they're like blaming Gabby. I didn't kill another one, Gabby. And anywho, she had these huge glasses. I love Gabby. And she kind of looked over the tops of, nope, no hamster. and then she's like kind of disgusted. She goes, oh, Davy.
So what do you think would be the absolute worst pet to have in a classroom?
The worst?
The worst. Like the
hamster.
tarantula would be. Oh, no, I'm like, we had a past student at another school. She had a student bring in a snake, like a pet snake. And it was in like it was like in a container.
I don't mind.
It had
snakes,
little holes poked up. And anyway, she at that time I was teaching special ed at the school too, and she was sitting up on the front table, and we team taught and stuff. So I went and I sat on the table with her, just kind of one of those long tables. And the snake was in this container because she'd been talking about it. It was between us, and anyway, she was talking, and I was looking over, and as I was looking over, the snake is coming out through the hole of the container and going across her leg, and I'm like, there's a. And anyway, all of a sudden she saw it. She went, oh, like this. The table, literally, the legs went straight out. We went bam to the floor. The snake crawled out. Oh my gosh!
Okay,
snakes are my number one.
And pets that can get out.
Snakes are
in
number one.
our science, we had to teach the crayfish, and they would get out.
See, the district gave us pets.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
Then
they made us dispose of them. Yeah, we'd have little funerals. But these crayfish would get out, and I would come in the morning. All the lights are out, and you could hear, just like Coraline. It's a book by Neil Gaiman, really good book. And there's this hand and you could hear.
They would constantly get out of those little.
And then I would just think, this is not in my job description. This is just not in it.
No. The crayfish were cool, but I didn't like the crayfish either. No. That would be the top thing. So anyway, our time's almost up, but this
I
is
gotta
fun
tell
talking
you
about pets.
We gotta continue this next time because remember there were 3 Chesters.
And you didn't get to do
that's okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt you.
No, that's okay because the 3rd Chester is coming, and I did end up with 2 Chesters in 1 cage. So I mean, you're gonna want to come back for podcast number 2.
Yeah. So anyway, so pets, we've learned a lot. We didn't know what we didn't know, but now we know. Pets in the classroom are fun. But a lot. And if you want to create your own stories, then have a pet.
But one last thing is, I think about these custodians. I want to thank them all for letting us have them. Yep. But I remember sometimes they would fix anything, and I remember taking a dead crayfish and setting it on the desk and saying, "Hey, could you fix this for me?" So
yeah, that doesn't work.
Hey, we'll see you next time, Lisa. Bye.
Yes,
everybody.
bye.
Thanks for listening to our podcast. We didn't know what we didn't know. We'll see you next time.